The Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Superconference is coming to Dallas, Texas, February 16, 17, and 18 in 2018. If you know of a better way to get the latest insider knowledge about crypto, to hear directly from the top minds in this field, to interact personally with 800 fellow crypto lovers, hodlers, investors, miners, traders, developers, and founders, then I'd like to hear about it. If you don't, then you don't want to miss out. Register today for the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Superconference. Go to bitcoinsuperconference.com and register today as a super early bird to get the lowest rates on tickets and hotel rooms. That's bitcoinsuperconference.com.
Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Yeah, so I'd love to, start off, Richard, and ask you a bit of background on yourself. Like, what's the origin story of how you got started in cryptocurrency and blockchain? What inspired you to first step into the space? Maybe something that that's not easily found out there in the interwebs if somebody just Googles your name.
Yeah, no. How it started is in October 2016. I was doing my normal work. I do marketing for lawyers. That's what I've been doing for about 9 years. I got caught up in the Trump versus Hillary election, and it was just negative. And every day I was stressed and irritated about it. And at the same time, I started getting emails from Peter Diamandis, who runs the X Prize. And all those emails were positive, exciting stuff like stem cells, regenerative medicine, 3D printing, virtual reality, blockchain. So I started reading those emails, and I really enjoyed them. And I felt better. And I came to a decision point, and I said, well, am I going to focus on the negative or the positive? So I decided to start a podcast and interview the people that I was seeing in this email roundup of all this new news. And that's what I started doing. And I started doing interviews on machine learning and mining asteroids and 3D printing shoes and all kinds of cool stuff, And I interviewed some people in the Bitcoin space. I talked to Matej Tokay from Bitcoin.com, and I just got interested in crypto, and I kept going with it and interviewing more and more people. And then at one point, I started going to a meetup here locally. I had so much information in my head, I said, I got to get this info out of my head. So I wrote a book called Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain, Surprising Insights from 200 plus podcasts. So that's on Amazon and Kindle and all that stuff. And I thought, I'd like to get really involved in the space more. So I said, all right, I want to put on a conference. And that idea came to me last, June, July. And we started, and, here we are, and the conference is right about to go on. So that's like the whole underpinning for how this came to be.
Yeah, that's incredible. And obviously, I don't know how many people you're up to now in your, or if you want to share, how many people are you expecting now at the conference?
Well, we sold out the main hotel at 900 people. I kept it small. I wanted to be conservative. And we had so many people begging me to get in that we opened up a second event a mile away. It's an overflow hotel. I call it the soft fork, just to be nerdy and Bitcoin speak. It's not contentious. So we've got about 500 people there. So total is about 1,400 people. And with all the speakers and sponsors and all that, it's going to be, 1,600, maybe 1,700.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's great. It's so interesting you bring up, on the side, actually, X Prize. I spoke with a company yesterday who's competing for one of the many, I guess, X Prizes out there in the world. And that company is actually doing global decentralized 911. Have you heard of them by chance?
No, I haven't.
It's called Guardium. And the company behind it is called Guardian Circle. It's it's basically like an alternative to 911, and tapping kind of local services as well as your most immediate, family and friends and notifications of whenever there is actual emergency response system. You actually have a team around you that can help respond. That's not only the people closest to you, but also those EMTs and other emergency services outside of the 911, because 911, at least in the U.S., they don't even have access to your location or anything, even if you call them with a mobile phone. So very interesting you say that. Great. Well, no, this is fantastic. So kind of getting in just a bit deeper into the current space of blockchain and cryptocurrency 2018 and what we've seen so far. Obviously, very loaded question, so let me kind of bring it back, take it from 50,000 feet down at least to 25,000. Given the volatility in the market, all markets, quite frankly, cryptocurrency, the equity markets, even the treasuries and things like that. What is your opinion on kind of what has caused the volatility for this first month and a half here in 2018, and how do you see the market, cryptocurrency in particular, and regulation playing out for the rest of the year? And you can answer that on a national and a global level if you like, if you have an opinion.
Yeah, so there was a monstrous run-up in December. So I think there's several reasons. Part of it is, futures helped bolster Bitcoin. I think it was really, having a hard time, and futures gave it a big shot in the arm. Again, there was this monstrous run-up, so there's profit-taking and all that in January. I also think, the stock market and the crypto markets actually are tied together, and here's why. The people that have money are not millennials. Nothing wrong with them, but they just haven't been around long enough to make as much money as 45 to 75-year-olds. And that age group that has the money, and the older you get, the more money they have, they're, by definition, they were around when stocks and equities and all that stuff were the only way to go. And, those are still the main ways to go. And they're in the stock market, and they're in those kinds of markets. So when the stock market goes down, the extra play money or the high-risk money they would put into crypto, they don't feel like they have, so they'll pull back. So I think that's why the stock market and the crypto markets are intertwined. When one goes down, the other will go down. And more of an effect of when the stock market goes down, it will pull the crypto market down. And, then you had major banks, Chase, Bank of America, and over in England, Lloyd's, I believe it's called, saying, you can't use credit cards for crypto. You have uncertainty about the SEC and CFTC. There's just tons of stuff going on in January that all caused it to retrace. But I think we're good. I think now we're going to be on the upswing again. Yeah,
no, that's great. I would have to say I'd be lying if I didn't say that I don't agree with you. I think a lot of the same thoughts there. Like when now thinking of February 13th onward, how do you see kind of the markets playing out? One thing I've seen, caveat that question. One thing I've seen is that the volatility is getting kind of more and more pronounced. So when there's been kind of a downturn, it's been pretty significant. When it's been upturn, it feels like it's becoming more and more larger swings versus smaller swings, which definitely keeps some of the institutional money at bay. However, you hear J.P. Morgan recently, right, and Jamie Dimon come out and change their mind in the market and what blockchain is to be. And people are starting to understand the underlying promise of blockchain without necessarily understanding how to control the bull that is in the volatility of it. And with anything of this much volatility, I think we're going to see like a lot of stable coins and a lot of people are trying to kind of artificially inseminate stability into the space by pegging it back to fiat, which right. Causes a number of very interesting nuances. So, all that being said, I'm just kind of setting the tone and background there of however you'd like to, kind of structure your answer, because I know it's a very wide question, but I'd love to hear, like, what do you think are going to be some of the, looking back from, December 31st, 2018, what are going to be some of the things that we're going to say about 2018 that we learned about the space and where it's headed?
Yeah, I think, personally, I think Tether is going to be exposed as a fraud and it's going to blow up. And I would love to see someone come out with a open public stable coin that's, viewable and auditable by everyone. I think that, hey man, if we're all going decentralized and public blockchains are the thing, why don't we have a public blockchain for a stable coin? Not only that, the entire operation is viewed in view of the public. Tether serves such an important function, and there's just such shenanigans going on there. I think it's hurting the market. Like you said, the big money, the large financial institutions and all that, they can't put 100 million in crypto and have it go up and down 20, 30, 50%. They can't do that. Their investors would kill them. They need to either come back out into fiat, let's say every night after they trade, or go into a stable coin. They can't have that volatility. They're just not allowed, and they're not going to play in a market that's like that. They're just not going to do it, at least with not a lot of money, in my opinion. So we need stability. I don't think we're there yet. I don't even think through all of 2018 we're going to get it. I think, the movements, if you look at it percentage-wise, which is really the right way to look at it, not the dollar amount, I think the volatility will come down, but I don't think we're there yet. I see very few blockchain projects that are beyond the development or concept stage. I don't see a lot of commercial uses yet. They're all scrambling to do it, but I'm just not seeing it where, this bank is not just testing this blockchain, but they're using it now, and it's in production. This insurance company is using it. This country is using it. I'm hoping by the end of 2018, that's where we get to, where some blockchain applications are being used over and over and over, and they're being, battle hardened and tested and out there in the real world and real application. All those great concepts, but I want us to get there. I think we're close, but we're not there yet, and that's really going to massively change the market.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more on that, especially myself coming off of ShipChain, a $30 million raise endeavor in solving at least even a minute percentage of the problems in the shipping, supply chain, logistics industry, which Vitalik himself talked about in the Ethereum white paper as being one of the central use cases for smart contracts. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and that's exactly what I believe in, and that's what I've worked in. Quick last
and
question here.
The day you tell me Maersk is using it now to track 17% of all their shipments, and it gave them a $40 million savings and all that, I'll celebrate. As an example, I'm just making it up, but that's where we need to get to. For instance, with that.
Absolutely, and you probably have heard IBM and Maersk, kind of starting their own blockchain company, and on the back of a successful shipping insurance, kind of smart contract that they developed, I believe, in Hyperledger, back last summer, that actually had, at the very least, kind of the tracking and tracking security and kind of visibility of shipping insurance agreements on a worldwide basis, right. And so they're creating something. Cool. Okay. Last question here that I have for you, and appreciate you answering all these. Just around protocol technologies. So when putting my fund hat on, when I talk to a number of investors, a number of people, and we're talking about the most exciting opportunities from an investment standpoint to invest in, and why. A lot of discussion that I have always kind of turned back to coins that are that are basically developed to be served as protocol layer technologies. So not necessarily all Ethereums and Neo and EOS of the world, but others like Origin Protocol, a coin that is basically allowing companies to build decentralized, sharing economies on the blockchain, and different companies will be developing their own peer-to-peer, Airbnbs and peer-to-peer, potentially Ubers and things like that in the blockchain. So I see a lot in a protocol layer and a lot of interest there because, it's just like investing in Ethereum. The more companies building on Ethereum, the better chance that Ethereum is going to at least survive, and then also create some stability in that as well as more companies are dependent on it. Right. Not being mindful right now of the cost of gas and everything else that goes in Ethereum. But with all that being said, where do you see, just you can take this anywhere you want, but where do you see protocol layer technologies going this year? And do you see any interoperability coming online between the ones that we have existing, or do you think it's kind of too far out to really say what's going to happen there?
Yeah, I've heard about this. I've heard that a new generation of coins are coming, or tokens that can hop across multiple blockchains and use elements of each of multiple blockchains, which is kind of crazy in my mind. I don't even know what's going to turn into, but it's a really fascinating thing. But yeah, these again, I don't know what you'd call them, but these protocols that use multiple other protocols to achieve their objective, that's going to be really fascinating. and that's going to start coming out this year, from what I've heard.
Yep.
I also know, there's the 80-20 principle. So out of all these protocols out there, out of all these tokens out there, a few are going to do well and eclipse everything else, and then most of them are going to fall into obscurity. Not because the developers aren't wonderful. There's no possible way for all these protocols and all these coins to equally succeed. You're going to have a few big winners, and then most of them will just be marginalized. I don't know who it's going to be. It sounds like it may be Ethereum will be a big winner, and maybe Neo and that kind of stuff. But I think we're going to see more of a sifting and sorting out, and the ones that are truly strong are going to get stronger, and the other ones are going to fall away. So I see that happening over 2018 and especially 2019, 2020. That's how all markets seem to go. There can only be X number of anything. So. Yep.
I agree. Okay, great. I mean, those are the main questions I had. So it's really appreciate that.
The Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Superconference is coming to Dallas, Texas, February 16, 17, and 18 in 2018. If you know of a better way to get the latest insider knowledge about crypto, to hear directly from the top minds in this field, to interact personally with 800 fellow crypto lovers, hodlers, investors, miners, traders, developers, and founders, then I'd like to hear about it. If you don't, then you don't want to miss out. Register today for the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Superconference. Go to bitcoinsuperconference.com and register today as a super early bird to get the lowest rates on tickets and hotel rooms. That's bitcoinsuperconference.com.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.